Marketer of the Day, episode 658. Find your mission worth sharing. Become a champion by choice and build your purpose-driven business with American Idol contestant and motivational speaker, William Hung.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're here with William Hung, who, if you remember him from about 2005 or so, he auditioned for American Idol with a rendition of Ricky Martin's She Bangs, and he became famous for all the wrong reasons. But despite a humbling start, William Hung redeemed himself, and he's appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live, the Ellen DeGeneres Show, and he's even performed it live in Las Vegas. And since then, he's been spending the last 2 years studying the world's top performers and public speakers to uncover their secrets to success. And using what he discovered, William skyrocketed his first studio album, Inspiration, to #1 on the independent Billboard charts. And his latest TEDx talk has already been viewed by over 35,000 people in less than a month. And we're going to talk today about his new book coming out, about some of his TEDx talks he's been doing, some inspirational stuff, and how to use your haters to make you more powerful. So how are things today, William?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be on your show.
Awesome. I'm excited to have you on my show. And I think I remember you from way back, but I have to confess, I only looked you up recently and saw these videos of where you tried out for American Idol and became somewhat of a joke, but then you used that to your advantage up until the present day, correct?
Yeah, it's about leveraging the experience and making it positive and using it to inspire people to turn their negative into positive.
Awesome. Okay, so as far as your journey and how that worked out for you, like what the heck happened? Like, how did you end up trying out for American Idol in the first place?
I used to sing karaoke when I was in Hong Kong since I was 10 years old. But for me, I just thought of it as a hobby. And for a long time, I thought it was just for fun. Even when I auditioned for American Idol, I didn't have any expectations. But what got me motivated to try out was two things. One, I was struggling with my civil engineering. The other, I won the talent show at my school. So maybe, just maybe, I have a chance.
Yeah, and so you kept your options open and tried different things to see what stuck, so that way you're not just locked into that exact path on the civil engineering. And when I heard and I saw about your story, what reminded me is when I was in high school, I had a friend who, as a prank, signed up someone else for student council, like wrote his name on some form. And then it turned out that the person that we were pranking ended up thinking it was a good idea and running anyway. So sometimes those random events in life, which at the time seem like little distractions or little side projects, end up taking us on a new path sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, it's unbelievable because even if they broadcast my audition, I saw Randy, Paula, and Simon. For most people, nothing would ever happen to them. People just have a good laugh, for a few minutes, and that's the end of it. But for some reason, my audition went viral, and my life could never go back to normal.
And we don't even know to this day why you stood out, right? Like compared to everyone else who other people stood out in different ways. Like, do you think it was just like a right place, right time accident, or was there something specific?
I would say it's probably the right place at the right time because somehow I responded positively to Simon when he said that you can't sing, you can't dance. So what are you going to say? And I just thought that I didn't need to be angry. I didn't need to be upset like everybody else. And that's all I did. I didn't script it, my response. I didn't have any expectations.
Right. I love that attitude. You just went in there to be yourself and try and do your best. And I watched that clip about half an hour ago where you were having fun and you were professional. And I don't watch a lot of reality TV, but sometimes you see people where they're over rehearsed or they try to like say specific things to get attention. And
right.
You were just yourself. And then I also read an interview with you where you mentioned that whole concept of you were just like professional and calm, and that there were other people that had tried out where if Simon cut them down, they'd get mad and throw a water bottle. And you said to yourself, why bother with that? What would that have accomplished?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, so you had your 15 minutes of fame, and you were on Jimmy Kimmel and Jay Leno and Ellen and all these shows. And then what happened after that?
What happened was I got a record contract, and that's how my entertainment career took off to the next level. I put school aside. I was living my dream life. I traveled and performed all over the world for about 4 years.
Fantastic. And earlier I looked up your single She Bangs on YouTube, and I was looking on the comments, and there are even some pretty recent comments, even things to this day, and even some people in the comments saying, he's not that bad. They're like, well, he slips in the key a little bit, but if you think about it, even though you've admitted that you don't have some talent like some of these like legendary musicians do, but even like modern day musicians, like say like Britney Spears is famous for the auto tuning, right? So it's not always if you're born with this talent, it's how you market yourself, right?
Yeah, it's about just putting yourself out there and trying until you find the right combination of talent, expertise, and then of course value for your audience.
Right, and that's when you're saying that, you remind me of this term called ikigai, right? Where it's like sometimes people try to do what the world wants, but then they just end up impressing people they don't like, or they try just doing their own thing, but then it might not be well received. But if you can find that combination of what you like to do and your skill plus what people want plus what people need, that combination like you're mentioning there, then that's the sweet spot. And so to find that sweet spot, what do you think people should do? Just like do what you did, like experiment, and if you have that passion, just like try things out and see what works?
Well, I would start with what your talents are. I always knew that my talent is in math and statistics, and somehow I have to apply that. And as an entertainer, I don't think I was able to fully apply that. With that being said, I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity because I know that I don't want to have regrets later in my life.
Right.
However, I need to transition, and that's what I'm doing now. Like what we say the last couple of years.
Okay. So by transition, what does that mean exactly? Like what is your current transition?
Well, after the first 4 years of my dream life, my entertainment career slowed down. And then I thought it was time to go back to school, get a degree, get a job, all the things that normal people would do. I did get a reasonable job. I worked for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department at the time. So I got, and then I was able to apply my math skills to that new job. And then I got promoted a few years later. I work for public health right now for the last 6 to 7 years. But to me, that's not my entire life, because I know where I was back in 2004 to 2007, 2008. I know that I'm capable of more. And one of my friends woke me up. She challenged me a couple of years ago. She said, "William, are you going to just hide behind the cubicle for the rest of your life?" And I said, "No." So she asked me, "What are you going to do about it?" And then I was lost. I wasn't sure. And then she told me that, remember that your first album, Inspiration, you were successful not because of your singing talent. You were successful because of your inspirational messages in between the songs. So that gave me an insight, the idea that, oh, maybe I can inspire people through professional speaking.
Interesting. And it seems like so many things in our lives happen in that way, right? That success is not a straight line. Sometimes we're headed in one direction and things peter out or go off track, and then we try something else, but then we're not fully satisfied. And then sometimes there's just that little nudge, like from your coworker, giving, like, just reminding you of something or helping you see things in a new way that gets you back to that happiness, right?
Yes, yes.
And so as far as you making your comeback here and getting on these stages and spreading this inspirational message, what have you done so far, and what is the plan?
Well, I've been speaking in the big conferences the last couple of years. Like I spoke for Microsoft, REMAX, Qorvo. Right now I feel that it's not just about me. In order for me to get to where I want to be, I also need to help more people get there. And that's why I created a coaching program this year to help more purpose-driven business owners go from hidden gem to industry rock star.
So purpose-driven business. And so what are the components or steps of a course like that?
Well, the first thing is they need to have a clear business direction or clear business idea. So the way I'm approaching it is I'm not just another public speaking coach, even though I'm spending a lot of time helping them craft the right message, market themselves the right way. I would say the first thing is to have an idea that's worth spreading. And it's not really just idea worth spreading because that would be TED. It's more like having a mission worth spreading because that would be a business.
Interesting. Okay, so the idea is short-lived, doesn't get you very far, but then having that mission, having that purpose, that goal that you're heading towards is more what it's all about, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the example is that I work with a client. She is a lifestyle doctor, and her approach is to help people achieve their wellness by changing their lifestyle so that they could stop taking medicine. So that's a mission worth spreading because let's face it, we don't want to go see doctors. Why are we seeing doctors if we can do something with our daily habits?
Right. And I found that a similar aha there in that it's easy to get lost in the technicalities, right? I mean, you know this, you're an engineer. It's easy to get lost in the math and the numbers and let me just go through the process. But then when you look at the people and the problems they have and the solutions they're not getting to, then it seems that seems to be where like the magic happens, at least from what I'm hearing from you, and that you see those people that you're looking to help. And then if you've ever been like stuck as far as what to say or get motivated, it's like, well, you see people in need and you want to help them, then suddenly you spring into action.
Yes.
So, and then also, I mean, so it seems like, so there's like different ends of the spectrum, right? Like sometimes you do more of just like the general inspirational speaking, and then other times you get into more of this like purpose-driven business, right?
Yeah. So I see everything working together now this year because the first 2 years, I feel that I am helping people by doing a lot of speaking. But I feel that from the business side of it, from the engineering side of it, it's like I'm just running gig to gig. You know, that's not a sustainable business. So I need the speaking, the coaching, the book launch, the course launch, everything working together. So that's the direction I'm going.
Cool. And then, so you're mentioning the book, which I think is Champion by Choice. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what is Champion by Choice all about?
The idea is how you can use the 3 C's to become a champion so that you can choose to be happy and you can rise above the haters.
Cool. And what are the 3 C's, or is that a secret?
No, it's not a secret because it's already in the preview. People already saw the preview. So the 3 C's are communication, context, and connections.
All right. Communication, context, and connections. And so what are people missing as far as those things?
Well, the communication part, people are typically missing the way they deliver their message because because according to the books that you can read about public speaking or online, you could read all about the technical stuff you're supposed to do. Oh, having great body language. You need to alter your volume, your pace, all the technical things. They are important, but they're not the most important. People are trying too hard sometimes. Even myself, I have to remind myself, I shouldn't try so hard. because when you try to do so hard to be perfect, then you might come across as a robot, or I would say inauthentic. So that's the hard line. It's not a number. It's not a science. It's more like art and science.
Right. And I've noticed that something similar myself. Like I know that you're in Toastmasters, and that's one of those things where years ago when I heard about Toastmasters, I had a friend who attended, and he said, "Oh, all they do there is count the ums," and so but just because of that one hater of Toastmasters, I didn't attend, and then I joined about 2 years ago and just tried it out, and I finished one path, and I'm starting a new path, but it's like getting into that zone and then figuring out like, well, what small thing am I going to fix as far as like my nervousness or my confidence or my delivery? Like there's always something to be learned there. And for me in particular, the benefit I didn't realize that I got from that was I figured out how to slow things down more. Sort of like you were just mentioning a few minutes ago of how it's easy to just say all the facts, right? Give all the information. And sometimes you have to just let people breathe and let people soak it all in. So as far as you and your public speaking journey, have you come across any sort of like personal benefit from just this practice, this repetition, this presenting?
Yes, I would say though the last 2 years has been more fruitful, more productive, because I'm more intentional in terms of how I use Toastmasters as a platform to practice. So now I stopped thinking about winning speech contests. I stopped thinking about going over time, because let's face it, in the real world, the right message is not necessarily 5 to 7 minutes, as you might know as a Toastmaster. The right message, it could be 3 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. It's all about getting your message across the most concise way possible for the situation.
Okay, and so what I'm hearing from you is that in any problem that we're trying to solve, there might be 10 different goals, right? So if it's like delivering a speech, or like even doing like the speech contest, there's, well, do I have enough to say? Can I get under limit? Can I be entertaining? Can I inform some things? And it seems like if you, what I'm hearing from you is if you try to hit every single goal every single time, then you're just going to fail, right? It's like you're going to be working too hard and juggling all these different things. So maybe the solution, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but maybe the solution is you figure out maybe what are the handful of goals I want, or maybe what are the one or two things that are important, and then there are some things that are less important, like exactly going under time.
Actually, yesterday was a good example. But for the listeners out there, I did a practice for a Toastmaster speech the day before this recording, and what happened was that the speech project I'm practicing was supposed to be 5 to 7 minutes, but I know that my message needs more than 7 minutes, and by the 7-minute mark, there's still important things I didn't say yet to the audience, and my target audience for that group were creators, were artists. They were ideal clients, that people that want to connect with me. So if I don't say those things, I'm not going to able to make the connection. So I in my mind, I told myself, you know what? I don't care if I go over time today. I need 3 more minutes to get my point across, and I did it. I'm glad I did it.
Fantastic. So sometimes it's okay to give a little bit. And I mean, I'm a computer programmer. I'm not an engineer at all, but I imagine that, I mean, sometimes you have to make those kind of similar decisions, right? If you say like you're building this structure and it has to not collapse, but also it needs to not be too heavy, or it needs to not cost this amount, right? Sometimes it's okay to go a little bit over, or sometimes it's okay to give somewhat.
Usually there's one thing that's more important than everything else. And so for the message that I delivered recently, yes, so I would say that getting my full message across was more important, because it's not a contest. There's a difference, right? Because if I were to be speaking for the World Champion Public Speaking 2020, that I don't want to go over. I make sure I don't go over. But for a regular meeting, my most important goal is to build relationships.
Sure. So different situations, different priorities. And it's not like you're going double time, you're just going 3 minutes over. So not a huge deal.
Yeah.
And so speaking of getting your message across and communicating and all that stuff, I've noticed that on your social media, you've been posting the randomness that we all like, right? Because on social media, it's tempting to just post like be all business, but then we need to post things that are more fun and like show our personality, show that authenticity in order to get reactions. And so, for example, the other day you posted about how lately you're mixing up you're changing up your Starbucks orders, right? You're doing things to make it like stronger or different flavors.
Right.
And so is that just having fun, or is there an intention behind all that?
Well, for that post, it's something that came across my mind. It's because it's my daily habits, like the old normal compared with a new normal. That's why I share that. And then I realized there's also related to insight that I discovered, because I feel that I usually, whenever I ask to do a professional speech, I always talk about American Idol in some shape or form. But with that being said, it's easy to get attached to that one story and spend too much time with that one story. So that's why I learned that I need to customize. I need to come up with stories or experiences that's relevant. That shows that your audience that you're not just delivering a canned speech.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, you must get bored talking about American Idol after a while, right?
I would say it's a necessity for me. Not everybody, but for me, it's a necessity in order to build that connection and credibility piece. But I have a choice. I don't have to spend 10 minutes, 20 minutes on this. I could just spend 2 minutes, just summarize what happened and then where I'm going now.
Yeah. So you're saying that's the whole American Idol thing. It's an important life achievement for you. It's a way for you to credentialize yourself and help people pay attention. But then if it was just the whole speech was only talking about American Idol, I mean, at what point is that out of date? Like maybe people want to hear more about what you have new coming up or what excites you these days.
Actually, the most important thing is to solve the problem for your audience. The audience doesn't care that much about you. They care about how you can solve the problems and why you.
Right. And so as far as that, you can being on that path of solving people's problems. Have you come across any difficulties or are there any false starts as far as coming up with that message?
Well, sometimes I made the mistake when I was starting out as a professional speaker that, okay, like I mentioned, I assumed that my American Idol story will connect with people, will captivate people, but it turns out that it's not enough. It turns out that it is smart to always talk to the organizer, to the speaking people, the audience, in advance about their top challenges. What do they want?
Ooh, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And so when you do that sort of thing, has it resulted in their top challenge is always something different, or is it usually like one of 3 or 4 things?
There are things in common. Usually it's related to health, relationships, money. But each event, it could be slightly different. For example, in the speech I delivered for REMAX, they talk about the productivity because it's very hard. You have to hustle a lot. They talk about quick market changes because of technology. They talked about what was the other one? Dealing with rejections, because that one's big. It's very heartbreaking when you spend like weeks and months to go through the deal and then you didn't close.
Right. And so when you get that feedback in advance about like productivity, market changes, rejections, how much does your speech change? Do you like focus more on certain areas or plug in those keywords or completely do something different? Like how how much does that apply to what you're delivering?
It applies a lot because once I know that, I only spend the first 5 to 10 minutes about my American Idol background, even in 60-minute keynote. And then the three things that they mentioned, I came up with activities. I came up with like new stories or experiences that just happened to me, because that's how I connect with the audience. And I'm glad I did that, because otherwise people are not going. That's just going to tune me out. Because I noticed that when I told my American Idol story, half the people were not paying attention. They were on their phone, they were eating. And then when I start talking about them, then they put down their phones.
Interesting. So you can adjust. And that's really cool, because it seems like when you're in like any kind of, speaking environment, there's the tendency to think, well, should I just deliver my best stuff, the stuff that's proven, the canned speech, as we mentioned earlier, or throw it out and just wing it every time? But it seems like the key is somewhere in between, where you know like what your default go-to presentation is, but then to keep yourself from getting bored and to keep your audience from getting bored, then you can have these things like these activities or news stories to work in there, so that way you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I agree, and that comes from experience. It's like I think that if in the past I wouldn't make the adjustment, but now that I'm more experienced as a professional speaker, I can tell right away if people are paying attention. Because if they are on their phones, or they are just looking down and eating lunch, or talking to their neighbors, they're not listening to you. So I was like, okay, I gotta do something different here.
Yeah, and like you said, that's a thing that just comes with time, from experience, with practice. And I mean, you have that musician background, and the only thing I can compare to is when I was a kid in school, I was in the school band, and my parents made me play or practice an hour per afternoon. And when all I did was for an hour every afternoon, I got pretty good at playing the saxophone. But then when I stopped practicing, I got out of shape, basically, right? My experience went down. And so it seems like so many of our problems are just putting in the time, get our experience in. That way we can adapt, adjust when some of that unpredictable sort of stuff happens. And so you have so much going on. You had the American Idol stuff back in the day. You had that inspiration album. You're doing TEDx talks. You have that purpose-driven business coaching program. You have the Champion by Choice book. What's the newest, latest thing?
Those are plenty of things to keep me busy. So I would say the goal, I would say, for the next 12 months is to come up with a better system to make everything work together.
Interesting. So would you say that is your engineering part of your brain at work again?
Yes, I 100% agree. Because I feel that I still don't have a great system yet. For all the speaking opportunities I've gotten, I'm very grateful. I'm very fortunate, but I'm still relying on referrals and word of mouth. So that is not a good business strategy. So I need a system, and I'm working on it. So coaching, I already have a system. I already know who I'm looking for, who I want to talk to. For my speaking, I'm almost there, because now I have some ideas about the association conferences I want to go after. So I'm getting there, very close.
Excellent, and it seems like it seems like a huge secret of your success here, as we're kind of wrapping up and talking about all these things that have worked for you, is about taking this imperfect action, right? That there are so many people out there that they just haven't acted because they think everything has to be lined up exactly and perfect before even taking that first step. And when I see those sorts of things happen, I'm thinking to myself, you don't know how reality will respond to you. So what's the point in getting all the stars aligned exactly for you? Because there will be that unpredictableness. Some things that you think will be great, people won't care, or just something random like trying out for American Idol might be a huge hit.
Yeah, I agree. Like even my new website is not anywhere close to perfect, but it will never be perfect. So one of my mentors told me, "Hey, William, I think at this point you need to start launching the marketing campaigns. You need to do the outreach. to get yourself on more bigger stages. So I totally agree.
Fantastic. And that's been I've had a similar aha there where it's like you try to figure out like who you are basically, right? Like what are you putting out there? And it seems like by the time you figure it out, things begin changing again. And so it's like a never ending process, but that's okay. The way to fail is to not take part in that. And the way to succeed is just knowing that by the time it gets perfect, then it's imperfect again.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And so just to make sure that everyone knows what to do, where to go, can you give us some links, some URLs, some resources of if they heard about this cool guy, William Hung, and they're interested in the speaking or the book or the coaching, where can and where should people go to?
willhung.com, WILLHUNG.com. You can reach out to me on the website. My contact information is there. You can also find me on the major social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn.
Fantastic. willhung.com and then Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And as we say goodbye and close things up here, is there any final message or just anything that you want to tell people that you hope will really stick with them?
You don't have to be a hidden gem. If you're listening to this podcast, you'll probably have an idea that's worth sharing. You have a mission that's worth sharing. You have something deep within you. You have that idea, that talent. Just go out there and do it, because the more you do it, the faster you can become your industry superstar.
Thank you for listening to Marketer of the Day. Subscribe and listen to other shows at marketeroftheday.com/episodes.